I'll move resolution 2025-138. Resolution requesting the Board of Estimate and Taxation set the maximum property tax levy for the 2026 budget at an estimated amount of $95,885,946 and an increase of 7.1%, 7.5%, my fault. 1.5%.
Thank you. And Director Weissman, thank you so much. I would love, I'm sure we all would love to hear about this monetary presentation. Take it away.
I'm Julie Weissman, the Finance Director for the Minneapolis Park Board. This information will be available on the public website, www.minneapolisparks.org/budget. Before we get into the actual resolution, I want to take just a little bit of time and provide some updates because this percentage increase is slightly lower than what we had talked about during the budget retreat. So I want to go over what has changed. So our general fund 6-year financial projection, I believe during the budget retreat, we were projecting 7.77% for 2026. That has dropped down to 7.15. The out years have not changed, so it's just the 2026 column that is seeing some adjustments. So again, included in our projections are the operating costs associated with the addition of new parks, amenities, or areas that have experienced increased usage. So Graco and Upper Harbor Terminal Parks are Graco's already online, and Upper Harbor Terminal Park will come online in 2026. So that is represented by $1 million requested increase. What has changed for us is we have continued our negotiations with the City of Minneapolis around our general fund overhead charge. The City and Park Board are working together to examine each rate model line item to clarify what services are provided and to what extent. So it's not that the city has been undercharging us, it's to identify what services we are actually utilizing and what extent. So the example that I have, the main reduction or the largest reduction that occurred is in the 311 services. So the initial charge for our overhead charge for 311 services was to be $520,000, and we requested an analysis of the call volumes that 311 is getting for the park board, and that changed our allocation of a charge down to just under $67,000. So we're 1% of the call volume, so our charge is 1% of the budget of 311. So that was, that's how it went from, I think we were at 80% or close to 80% increase, and we're now at 36% increase. We are still in conversations around the city assessor's office. The city assessor's office, the city is charging us for the city assessor's office because they have a mechanism to do so. In further conversations with them, they are not charging the other taxing jurisdictions that levy taxes on Minneapolis properties because they don't have a mechanism to do that. And so we are making our case that if they aren't charging the other taxing jurisdictions, they should not be charging the park board as a taxing jurisdiction. We haven't received final confirmation on that, so I'm hoping before this board would formally adopt the maximum property tax levy increase in 2 weeks, that we would have a response and a resolution on that item. The MPRB does not pay a direct charge for the current financial system, which is called the COMET. It's a PeopleSoft system. We pay indirectly through our general fund overhead charge, but we don't pay a direct cost. Moving forward, as the city enters into a new contract with Workday, a different financial provider, or ERP system provider, they are requesting that we pay for our user and license fees going forward. So I have now included in our property tax request the amount that we're estimating for 2026 through 2030. And you'll see on this chart that the first year is $230,000, and by the 2030 it will be over $400,000. That's because we're phasing in the new financial system. HR and payroll will be going first, and then the other financial systems will come in later. So it's phasing out of the old system into the new system and progressing in that manner. So when you get to the maximum property tax levy, I've highlighted those two items, so you'll be able to see where those amounts have changed. Again, I want to remind you that during our balancing of the 2025 and 2026 budget, we had service level reductions, particularly in recreation center hours, closing an hour earlier, closing on Sundays, and closing on all federal holidays, and then the reduction of 5 ice rinks. Our one-time temporary budget reductions, the limited activation at Greco Park has been funded through a reallocation of the North Commons pool operating costs that are being saved as that is not operating during construction. And then we closed our youth investment gap with a combination of position vacancies, holding 3 youth program specialists vacant for the entire year, as well as not transferring money into the land acquisition reserve account. This is a chart just showing that in 24 and 25, our complement of general fund positions reduced in both 2024 and 2025. 2024 was reallocating or repositioning positions between the enterprise fund and the general fund, and 2025 really reflects those service level reductions that were adopted in 2025. The increase of 9.7 FTEs in 2026 is directly related to Greco Park and Upper Harbor Terminal Park. So the maximum property tax levy, the Board of Estimate and Taxation is required by state law to set the maximum tax levy for the City of Minneapolis, the Park Board, the Municipal Building Commission, and the Public Housing Authority. There are 6 members on the board: the mayor, city council president, the chairperson of the Ways and Means Budget Committee, our park board commissioner, and then 2 members elected citywide. As a reminder, we are very heavily reliant on property taxes for our general fund, much more so than the City of Minneapolis. And we make up just under 18% of the total city tax bill. When you consider all taxing jurisdictions that show up on your property tax system, property tax statement, we are 8 cents on the dollar. Again, we heard from the assessor that that property taxes, the impact of increases will be more largely felt on residential properties as opposed to commercial and industrial because of the change of values. This is a reminder that we right now have a gap between what the mayor adopted in their 5-year financial plan for the park board property taxes. They have estimated a 1.37% increase, and it's made up of these 3 pieces: the current service level increase, the youth increase, and the Graco and Upper Harbor Terminal. This is now where we are sitting for a property tax levy increase. It's 7.15%. A large portion of that, $3.4 million, is directly related to our wage and fringe, our staffing levels here at the park board. Inflation on goods and services, the almost 1.2 million, represents a 4% increase, and that's higher than historically we have increased around 2%, but with the high level of inflation over the past few years, our buying power has decreased and become critical. And then also in goods and services, it accounts for the increases that we need to make to our internal service funds due to labor contracts and changes in state law around workers' compensation. Then you'll see the general fund overhead increase. I believe it was around $1.2 million. That's down to just under $500,000. Again, the large adjustment for 311. They reduced the intergovernmental relations office at the city to 0, so those reductions are reflected there. You'll see the workday and budget tool estimate and Graco and Upper Harbor Terminal Parks. And again, these are charts that you are familiar with. The difference between what we are projecting we need of 6.9 million, the 7.15%, and what the city is estimating for us, the 1.2%, there is a full overall gap of 5.1 million. If you look at...
Excuse me, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Director
Sure.
Weisman. I just am realizing it's 5:30, and I was alerted by our president that we need to go back to open time. I apologize. We will, what's the proper word? Recess Administration of Finance and consider this in a moment. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to you, President Benny.
Commissioner Forney. Okay, we'll recess the full board and return to Admin and Finance.
I will call Admin and Finance back to order, and if it would please Director Weisman to continue with presentation. Thank you so much.
All right, so again, chart 1 shows the total gap between our almost $7 million need and what the mayor has currently projected for us at $1.2 million. That's a $5.1 million gap. Chart 2 represents not losing staff. So that's just focused directly on that $3.4 million that we need to sustain our workforce, and the amount that is recommended through the city, which is a $2.5 million gap, or approximately 22 FTEs. So just as a reminder, we added 22 FTEs for the youth investment. So in one fell swoop, that could potentially go away. And then chart 3 shows the gap between the $1 million we say we need for Graco and Upper Harbor Terminal Parks, and the $300,000 that the city has estimated for those two parks. So that's $761,000 for those. So our budget process next steps is the Admin and Finance Committee will discuss this resolution that is before you. It will go to the full board on July 16th. Is that the right date? 16th. And the mayor's recommended budget will come out on August 15th. And we will be presenting to the Board of Estimate and Taxation and sharing our resolution with them in September. And the BET will set the maximum levy on September 17th. So that's the end of the presentation, and I'll open it up for questions or discussion around the property tax request.
Thank you so much, Director Wiseman. Do any of my colleagues have questions? Oh, yes, Commissioner Olson.
Thank you. So you mentioned assessor costs, and I guess I'm wondering, so how much does the city pay for that? And then I guess what's our portion? And is there, I mean, does the city, I thought maybe there might be programs for the city to go through the county for that assessor. Is it necessary that the city does this on their own?
Chair Thompson and Commissioner Olson, we did reach out to our legal, so Brian, please correct anything, or legal counsel, Rice, correct anything I might say. But it is a mandate from the state to the county to do the assessing of properties. And I don't have the exact numbers, but the city is the only first-class city that still has its own assessing department. Hennepin County, for the cities that they do the assessing in, they are not charging the city for those services.
Okay, so the city could potentially find discounts there, but for some reason, mayor's office, council, whoever wants to hold on to it. I'm just wondering, you know, depending on the right numbers, that could cover a significant portion of our gap. Looks like
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Please, by all means.
Madam Chair, I think our Commissioner Olson's question, I did look into this matter. I think the number was $6.3 million is what the city has in its budget to pay for the city assessor's office. And of the 45 cities in Hennepin County, only 6 now have their own assessors. And I think it was last year the county agreed to assume the cost for the cities that wanted to turn that function over to the county. And I think 2 or 3 cities did, and I think they believe that that trend will continue. And I think of all the cities in the state, there's only a dozen or perhaps less that actually have their own city assessor as opposed to just having a county assessor do the assessing.
Okay. Well, so thanks for this. I mean, I'm not on this committee, but obviously we need to ask for what we need to ask for. But maybe on top of that, we can be having conversations around other ways to find savings for the city that could perhaps be passed on to us.
I appreciate that line of questioning, Commissioner Olson, because that was not something I was aware of. So may I ask to follow up? For example, does St. Paul have their own assessor's office? Do we know that, Council Rice?
Yes, Madam Chair. The city of St. Paul's not had an assessor for over 50 years. I think
Wow.
Ramsey County's done the assessing since World War II.
Wow. Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Menz.
Thank you, Chair Thompson. I don't serve on this committee, but I did have a couple of questions. So, Director Wiseman, the mechanism, what is the mechanism that is used to charge us that's not used for other jurisdictions?
Chair Thompson and Commissioner Menz, I mean the general fund overhead rate
Okay.
charge.
Okay.
So they've included it in their rate model.
Okay. All right. The other question I had, so when you put up that dollar, and maybe this is a little bit of background that maybe I'm sure I may have been told this in the past. So for us, it's 8 cents on the dollar. Like, what does it look like in other urban settings? Do we have information around like how we compare to other urban settings who don't have an independent? I mean, like, what is the budget that the city spends on parks? We're saying here that it's 8% that goes to us, but maybe there's more spent on parks. How does that compare? Do you know?
Chair Thompson and Commissioner Menz, I don't have information. I was just at the Government Finance Officers Association conference, and the city of Shakopee did a budget presentation, and in their budget, parks are 14%.
Okay.
And we're 17% of the total city.
Okay.
So if you go back to this slide, we're slightly higher than the city of Shakopee's parks.
Okay, from the full budget. And then for the youth increase for the 260,000, yeah. So current sub, what is that specifically? Do we have an idea of what that would specifically be going to, or is that just going into general area of the budget? What does that $260,000 represent to the city that they're cutting from us specifically?
Chair Thompson and Commissioner Menz, first of all, this is what the city is budgeting for us, so this is included, not cut.
Okay.
The $260,000 is the annual amount. If you remember the $2.6 million, we received 1.3 in property taxes, 1.3 in ARPA, and then ARPA went away as property taxes started going up. We have 26 and 27 still to get this 260,000. Mm-hmm. So that we're up to the 2.6 million in property taxes for our youth investment.
And our youth investment, 22 FTE positions.
Correct.
And was that the sole use of that funding, or was that was the specific use of all that funding? If I remember correctly, I think that's true.
Chair Thompson and Commissioner Menz, it was 22 positions plus material and supplies, contractual services for the programming that they would be doing.
Okay. Thanks. And I know that we've probably had this before, but, I'll ask somebody for the list of those 22 positions. And I know that we've gotten some reviews on what those positions have done, but I think it'd be interesting to look at those again.
Sorry, I turned myself off. Commissioner Forney.
Thank you. Once again, wonderful presentation. I did watch the BET presentation you did. And could you give some clarity, or somebody give some clarity of, first of all, thank you for breaking out Graco and Upper Harbor. And what would be the difference of, shall we say, today versus if we got the funding? What add-on services would there be if we had the full funding?
Chair Thompson, Commissioner Forney, I saw all the eyes look toward me. So, well, Upper Harbor Terminal, of course, would have staffing, right? So that's, there's a zero staffing there, and that would be the staffing complement for it. And then at Graco, what we're looking at there is we're currently a 5-day service. So we're Wednesday through Sunday. We're stretching staff from the downtown service area in order to accommodate that. We're increasingly dependent on rentals in order to be able to provide staffing within that space. So you would see us be able to replenish the staff who are in downtown and then fully staff the Graco building. That's really on the programming side. Mm-hmm. On the operating side, I would say the stretch is even more significant. So we're using some funding right now, kind of as an opportunity where we have North Commons that isn't open. We're able to take some of the staffing, some of the resources that we'd otherwise be using in that pool to be able to stretch into that space. So that's a limited time within kind of the next 5 years of our ability to be able to continue to use that type of staffing. So what you're really looking at is at most a 5-day service, probably heavily rental based, and eventually we'll even be stretching the operation staff more than we are right now as we bring, say, North Commons fully back online.
And can you give me a little better description of what you mean by operations? Lawn mowing?
Yes, certainly. Chair Thompson, Commissioner Forney, if you think about any of the grounds maintenance, the plowing, the maintenance of the facility, could bring Jeremy up here potentially. He might even want to speak more to it. But there's a lot in that facility, both the building as well as the actual grounds. That's what I'm referring to.
I appreciate it. And I just need to say that this is such a important aspect of the budget to pull out and to articulate. As we all know, we've had tragedies in that immediate area at Graco. 10 blocks away from Upper Harbor, another. And I just feel the activation of these two particular assets is so critical. And I really hope that we can impress upon the BET just how critical it is to have those two assets full functioning. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Schaefer.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's great to see that you guys really worked with the city to negotiate down that 311 number. I know that was kind of shock when you first brought that forward. And just my couple of comments right now are, I will be supporting this increase at this point in time. I will be reconsidering when the mayor's budget comes out. Parks are really elemental to who we are as a city, and Graco has been waiting. Upper Harbor's coming. That's an important park. We do want to get its fair share as soon as we can. But if we, depending on what comes out, that is the area where we may have to hold on Graco at Upper Harbor, or have some finessing happen in that line item. But the rest of this is set. We have to support our workers. We have to follow through on our contract commitment. And so, yet I am very sensitive to the property tax increases that many homeowners are feeling. And a 7% increase for us translates to a 1% on our tax bill. And that's significant. And so I want to recognize that and state I will be supporting this at this time. But really we'll be watching when the mayor's report comes out to see what does the city mirror. Are they going to tighten their belt? And if they do, we may have to tighten our belt some more. If the city does not lead in that area, then we need to follow suit. So I will be watching carefully that, and I'm happy to support this in committee.
Thank you, Vice Chair Schaefer. President Benny, please.
Thank you, Chair Thompson. I'm not on this committee, but I appreciate that chance to speak, and it's great to follow Commissioner Schaefer's comments, because I think that the other thing to remember is, yes, if we see the city taking some steps that they're also asking us to take, that's one thing. But if they're only asking us to take the steps that they're not taking, and to be candid, so far that's what it looks like, honestly, to a large extent. I'll also just remind people that essentially we're pretty close to what we had projected for this year's increase last year. That was in the 6 range. The reason it's gone up is because of the fee we're getting from the city, those charges that we're getting from the city. So we've been pretty consistent, and the budget work that's done by the wonderful team here at the Park Board doesn't have any fatal flaws or problems. It's very it's accurate, and it really projects out well, so sort of you know where you're heading. So we have, as a group, the organization, we haven't added any new or fancy things. We're just trying to keep the services that we have in place and meet our obligations and be realistic about things like inflation. So thanks for letting me make those comments.
Absolutely. Commissioner Forney for a second time.
Thank you. I just wanted to also add that I did watch, and I really appreciate that. I know the president of NA was proactive in bringing people to testify, and I really, really appreciate that. And I know that ice rinks are really, really critical to everybody's passion. I don't know why, but I just suddenly noticed that we don't have any water rafts out on any of our lakes. And we miss that. We really do. But we've had to make budget constraints, and I applaud staff as far as looking at how can we not cut these wonderful, wonderful assets that everybody enjoys. And I really appreciate them, weighing everything, and hope someday we can get water rafts back. Thank you.
Did you have another question? Thank you, and thank you to all the comments of my colleagues. This is something I'm profoundly passionate about, because money and how you manage it means jobs, and it means parks, and it means all the services and all the things that we're all talking about. And hearing some of the wastes, not just in this meeting, but in my short time on the audit committee, has been challenging to hear, knowing how we are struggling, and then there's a lot of stuff that just rolls right through the city. So I would echo what Commissioner Schaefer says about hoping that they too will look at tightening their belt. Although I cannot put too fine a point on this. I know we all know it up here, but to the public, this is a profoundly challenging fiscal time for everybody from the state on down. And I just hope that we can find ways to work with our partners to get what we need. Thank you so much, Director Wiseman, for that presentation. I love the graphics. I love the dollar sliced up because it's great. And no shade on Shakopee, but I don't think that they're winning any awards. So, I think pushing to 18% is actually worth it. So, again, no shade, but come on. All right. Seeing no other lights, all those in favor of Resolution 2025-38, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?